Keep the Beat with Pete. And we'll try this microphone out, see how this works. Just don't want to clip the snare drum. So you can hear me. Last time there was some problem with the audio. Today we want to discuss, take the rolls and roughs and drags and all that stuff further. And now I'd like to talk about the 5 and 6 stroke at least. Maybe we'll even, if we have time, talk about 7 stroke rolls, and we'll start just getting into the idea of taking the whole thing up. So with the 5 stroke roll, again, just looking at some of the sanctioned authority figures on this, you'll have the Percussive Art Society, they'll have the 5 stroke roll, and they're showing it more like in a closed fashion. So 1, 2. And the National Association of Rudimental Drummers, they're showing it, the 5 stroke as a 5 stroke roll this way. So it's open. Percussive Art Society also says, hey, if you want to do it as triplets, so like 1 triplet, and then good old Wilcox in Rudimental Swing Solos has, I think, probably the easiest way to pick up these rolls. He shows the 5 stroke roll, of course, as 1, and the 7 stroke roll as, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1 and the 2, and that would be 7, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1 and the 2, 1 and the 2, 1 and the 2, 7, 1 and the 2E would be 6. So you can actually learn this. I think the easiest way to do this is using 16th notes. So if it was a 5 stroke roll, 1E and a 2, 3 and 4 and, or a 6 stroke roll, 1E and a 2E, right? And then the 7 stroke would be 1E and the 2E end. And 8 stroke roll, they don't really call it that, it's just 1E and the 2E end. The 9 stroke roll would be 1E and the 2E and the 3. And of course, guess what? The 10 stroke roll. 1 and 2 and 11 stroke roll, no mystery, 13 stroke roll, 15 stroke roll, 17 stroke roll, which actually takes you into the next measure, right? 1 and 2 and 3. Now, is that the only way you're ever going to see them in print? No, because you're going to see 30-second note representations and applications of it. You'll see it in triplets. You'll see the 7 stroke roll sometimes, a lot of times written as a triplet. So 1 triplet, 2. So 1 triplet. So you're going to see it written a lot of ways, and then it appears in different parts of the measure. When you see it, like in Wilcox, and you'll see a lot of rolls appearing in a lot of these pieces, rudimental swing solos. And sometimes the roll starts on the whole note, sometimes it'll start on the half note, sometimes it'll start in different places. So it's a very worthwhile. Here's part of Old Sue, and he's got what you would effectively call 6 strokes in 30-second notes. So now this is written in 2/4 time. So he has 1. And so forth and so on. So you're going to see these written a lot of different ways, and they're going to appear a lot of different ways in the music. Then you'll see it also orchestrated. Like if you look at advanced funk studies, Rick Latham, there's some. He has these figures in the book, 2-bar phrases, sometimes more than that, but a bunch of 2-bar phrases. And one such phrase is a group of 5 notes, which would be sort of like a 5-stroke roll between the hi-hat and the snare drum. So, and it's sort of a triplet feel, right? So. So my whole approach with these rolls is you really want to start looking at them and how did they appear in context? How might you have to play them? I mean, like I say, these rudimental swing solos and a lot of these books that take you in and out of these drills, open rolls, closed rolls, are excellent ways to practice. But then you're going to start seeing the music. Like that's one in advanced funk studies. There's plenty of other ones where the 5-stroke appears. Now, take 5, interestingly enough, right? I mean, of course, you would expect somewhere in there's going to be these 5-stroke rolls. Well, yeah, and I have a transcription of it here. And in one part of the solo, yeah, there's actually Joe Morello, who I studied with, as you know, has a section where, he's phrasing these he's implying the 5 throughout the whole solo because the bass line is running. But there's an actual section of 1. In fact, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a single. Of course, we know it can be. The way they write it out formally is quite often the accent is on the last note. But you can play it with the first note accented. You can play it in a triplet feel. Instead of evenly, which is 6, or very common in swing solos. And then other segments, we'll get into substitutions like it. So the real object of rolls is to understand that they're groupings of notes. They appear anywhere in the phrase. They could start on the and, 1. They can appear as connectors quite often, bridges, 1 and 2 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 2. They could appear as introductions. As you know, it's very common in Motown to have the 6-stroke roll introducing a phrase. the 6-stroke roll. Ain't too proud to beg, you know. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's the way it's organized, the notes. Very, very, very common. So it's going to appear all over the place. Jazz, fusion, funk. It's going to connect a lot of phrases. The more familiar you get with the rolls, open, closed. So if I take the snare drum mute off for a minute, and this snare drum has different settings, I'll try to give it the more, you get some buzz there. When these rolls are open, each stroke is going to be more distinctive, and it's not, of course, buzzed. But then when they close them up, roughs and drags and so forth in the last segment. So one of the things to do is to start practicing putting a bunch of rolls together, make some mini phrases and solos out of them. That's about 12 minutes. So the essence of it is this. Play your rolls open and closed. I recommend, learning them as 16th notes as the first easiest way of doing it. So as again, a 5-stroke roll, 1 E and a 2, 6 would be 1 E and a 2 E, 7 and so on. 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, that's what's commonly written. Except they do use a 10-stroke roll and a lot of figures. Anyway, learn them that way. Then you're going to learn to see them in 32nd note, arrangements. You're going to see them as triplets, partial triplets, 16th note triplets, 1 note left out. You'll have 5 notes. Learn them all which ways. Then start training your ear to hear them. And remember, rolls really are used a lot of times as intros or to take a song out and as connections. So you're connecting one phrase to the other quite often with short, medium, and sometimes long rolls. Or sometimes a vocalist you're closing out with like a long roll, very soft. So there's a lot of ways that these things come into play, and they're very, very valuable. What we'll do in the other segments of this subject is to start showing some examples of the most common uses of setups, transitions, and rolls. But the main thing is you want to have that does it on the roles basics. You understand the sources of these things, you understand some of the academics, the history of it, and then you start actually just learning to execute them and place them where you'll need them. And as I said, we'll go into actually starting to show some of the more common setups that you're going to hear and how to get familiar with those, be comfortable around the set with them, okay? So, again, rolls, roughs, drags, however we phrase them. Remember, this is all essential to help you create the beat you're going to keep when you're building the structure, when you are creating that part for the band, the new song, the old song that's being reinterpreted, or just covering a song, and they'd like you to get close to the phrases and the setups that might have been in the original, okay? So, again, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and remember, keep the beat with Pete. Peace out.